Welcome, wrestling fans. Welcome to Curtain Jerkin. As always, I'm your host, Jacob Grondy, reporting for the Main Event Marks YouTube channel and the Dragon Suplex Podcasting Network. It feels like forever since I've talked to you guys. It feels like over a week since I've talked to you guys, and it has been over a week. It's good to see you guys. It's good to be talking to you guys again. I appreciate it. I've had a big week. Hung out with, my relatives, my girlfriend's mom, my girlfriend's dad, her brother, her sister, her brother's girlfriend. We had a great time over the weekend. But I gotta say, the entire time I was checking my phone, I was reading about this MJF stuff. And they know I do this podcast. They're like, hey, if you need to do your wrestling thing, go ahead. I was being polite. I was like, no. Let's hang out. Let's watch the Food Network like we're doing. Let's go out to eat and get snacks. But the whole time, I was looking at my phone, reading this MJF stuff. I couldn't believe what I was reading. I couldn't believe what was happening. People were like, is this a work? Is this a shoot? People were texting me. I'm like, is what a work? Is what a shoot? I felt behind, but I caught up on Memorial Day. I caught up on Tuesday. And I even watched Dynamite on Wednesday. I'm talking to you guys Thursday evening. But we'll get to all that MJF stuff. We're going to have to cover a few more things. We're going to be going into Hell in the Cell predictions. But first, let's cover some stuff Bray Wyatt tweeted out. Everything good that's ever happened to me first came a period, I guess he meant to say of horrible suffering, but he said horrible suffering. I never ask why. I just wait for the rough part to end. I was chosen for whatever reason, and I've got shit to do. It doesn't hurt anymore. It burns. I'm ready now. That's cryptic as fuck, like we know and love from Bray Wyatt. But I think that means he's going to sign to the WWE again. I mean, they're bringing back Hell in the Cell. We all know how shitty of a match Seth Rollins and Bray Wyatt were at Hell in the Cell a few years ago. But I still think they're going to bring him back for Hell in a Cell. I don't see him going to AEW. I don't see him going to Japan. He could be doing like some movies and music and shit, music videos. I think that'd be kind of cool to see his brain kind of go in that, side of art. But I think he's going to come back to WWE for whatever reason based on that tweet. But the tweet was creepy, just like we know and love from Bray Wyatt. It was like we got a cool little Bray Wyatt promo right there. Matt Cardona, NWA World Champion, injured. He says, that he's going to miss some dates. I kind of like the nonchalant vibe of, hey, guys, I might have to miss some dates. He injured himself at the GCW show over the weekend against Blake Christian. It probably was a lingering injury, the straw that broke the camel's back. We're not blaming Blake Christian at all. But this sucks. He was having the run of his career. I'm sure he'll be back in no time. I mean, he can do GCW stuff and just film it and send it in. I think some of his best stuff in GCW are his promos. So I think he can definitely still cut a great promo. And he is booked to wrestle Nick Aldis again in Tennessee this summer. So hopefully it's only a few weeks long and not a few months long. We'll have to see. If he drops the strap to Aldis real quick, we'll know that it's more of a serious injury, not a lingering injury. Before we jump over to Double or Nothing, let's give you guys my predictions of Hell in the Cell. Keep in mind, I do not watch WWE week to week. So we need to take all this with a grain of salt as I type in the website to pull up the match card here. Last time I watched WWE, I think, was Backlash. I might have maybe watched here. No, I literally last time I watched was Backlash. And I was talking to my friend John Hitchcock, and he says, I don't watch WWE anymore, and I don't miss it. And I chuckled to myself because I knew that that's exactly how I felt. I do watch the big shows because they do something better than anybody else, and that is video packages and big fight feel spectacles, and they do all of that on the big show. So I'm watching Hell in the Cell. And we're just going to go over the matches that are booked for the show. We have Austin Theory versus Mustafa Ali for the United States Championship. I feel like they kind of strapped the rocket to Theory. He's got the United States title. He's keeping the United States title. And it's in Chicago, which is Mustafa Ali's hometown. So, I mean, the writing's on the wall there. Liv Morgan, Finn Balor, and AJ Styles. The WWE Bullet Club versus Rhea Ripley, Damian Priest, and Edge. I feel like Rhea Ripley, Damian Priest, and Edge are going to win this one. So we're going with 2 heels. So I do think a face is going to win this. And it's Bobby Lashley versus Almost and MVP. I mean, 2 against 1 obviously is going to go with the 1. It's kind of odd wrestling math, but you guys know what I'm talking about. A handicap match always goes in the favor of the guy who's got the odds against him. And that's Bobby Lashley. He could pin MVP. You could keep Almost safe here. I'm going Bobby Lashley. Kevin Owens versus Ezekiel. I mean, they've been kind of making Kevin Owens look really foolish here ever since WrestleMania. I mean, he lost to Stone Cold. And then here he is being fooled every single week because a man shaved his beard and making him think that he's another person or not being able to go along with the joke. Being kind of silly. They need to get a serious vibe out of him. The joke's over now. I think Kevin Owens is going to win. Raw Women's Champion here. Bianca Belair versus Asuka versus Lynch. Bianca Belair is the champion. You're going to have to spice up the show somehow. Asuka just came back. I would put the title on Asuka. The money is in the chase with Belair, and that way you could have her win at SummerSlam like she was supposed to do last year. Or was that Sasha? I can't remember. She was supposed to do something at SummerSlam, and I think she got destroyed real quick. But I'm going Asuka so she can win at SummerSlam this year. That's what I'm going with. Bianca Belair is going to win in the future, but Asuka's going to win at Hell in the Cell. Once again, take this all with a grain of salt. I'm just kind of eyeing up what I see here and what I know. Hopefully this is entertaining for you guys. But we have the Hell in the Cell match itself. Cody Rhodes versus Seth Rollins inside the Hell in the Cell. Cody, great cage match wrestler. He wrestled Warlow. Him and Goldust wrestled the New Age Outlaws in a cage match. Seth Rollins, awful cage match wrestler. I mean, the match with Bray Wyatt comes to mind here. I'm going with Cody Rhodes. They got to heat up Cody Rhodes to go up against Roman. Roman's not even on this show. They got to put someone over here. So I'm going with Cody Rhodes to win the Hell in the Cell match at the WWE Hell in the Cell 2022. But, you know, that's just me kind of talking out of my ass here. I don't know shit about WWE nowadays. I do know something about AEW. I watch every single week. I've only missed like 1 episode of Dynamite ever, I think. I'm just being generous with one. I might be seeing every single episode of Dynamite ever. And I've seen every single pay-per-view, that's for damn sure. Double or Nothing 2022. This show was long. A little too long. There was an hour with the 2 Owen Hart Cup matches and the O'Reilly versus Darby match that was put on the card that day or something like that. That could have all been gone. That could have been put on the episode of Dynamite that was on Wednesday. The episode of Dynamite on Wednesday really didn't have that good of stuff in ring, and I feel like those 3 good singles matches would have helped. That show stood out tremendously, and it would have made this show a little shorter and not felt like they were just kind of adding matches just to add matches. But that's being nitpicky. All the matches were good. Caster rapping with the Ass Boys coming out down the ramp was good. Funny shit to kick things off. Forbidden Door ad. Love seeing that. We'll talk about more about Forbidden Door when we talk about Dynamite. I think it's great that they're doing Forbidden Door right before the G1 in America to hype up the G1 rather than doing a G1 show in America. As much as I would love to go to a G1 show in my lifetime, I feel like this is going to be way better promotion for the G1 than actually doing the G1 in America like they did in 2019. The MJF situation was rough. I mean, he's one of my favorites in AEW. It kind of made me realize that throughout all this, but then, you know, he was making disgruntled claims, and then he no-showed the Fan Fest. Samoa Joe also no-showed the Fan Fest. I think that might have been in a little bit of solidarity with MJF because he's kind of preached the same claims that MJF preached in his promo on Dynamite when he was in TNA. I don't know. That's just me thinking here. I don't know. Maybe there's 1,000 reasons he might not have been at the Fan Fest, but I'm thinking that if MJF no-showed the Fan Fest out of protest, I can see Samoa Joe doing the same thing. I don't know. Maybe that's just me kind of thinking out loud. That's not a scoop at all. MJF, best heel in the company, though, I'll say that, including Jericho. And he's the best talker in AEW, including Jericho, including Kingston. And look at the other quote-unquote pillars. And they are, they're getting more titles than him. They're getting just as much TV time, but they're not being talked about as much as he is. I mean, especially Jungle Boy. It's night and day with Jungle Boy. I mean, even he's better than Britt Baker on the mic and has way better matches. Darby Allin, way better talker than Darby. Of course, yeah, Darby does have some, pretty notable stuff that he does just because he's so insane. But, I mean, if you're looking at, like, an all-in-all best pillar, it's got to be MJF, so quote-unquote pillars, as they call them in AEW. But let's break down these matches from worst to first. 13 big matches on AEW Double or Nothing. Men of the Year and Paige Van Zandt versus Sammy, Ty, and Kaz. This is the worst match on the show. 13 out of 13. This was a clusterfuck. Kaz and Sammy bickering the whole time. The only good part was Sammy super kicking Ty because he fucking nailed that shit. It was done accidentally in the ring, but man, did he just smoke his girlfriend. Boom. But right after that was a lot of bad wrestling. Paige Van Zandt and Ty Conti, whenever they got in the ring, was ridiculous. It was bad. Who do you cheer for in this feud? I mean, you kind of want to cheer for Scorpio Sky, but the reluctancy that he has to not leave Dan Lambert and American Top Team kind of makes me not want to cheer for him. Kaz and Sammy bickering, that was kind of... Where are you going with that? This whole feud has kind of brought down everyone involved and brought down the TNT title. I saw a picture, a graphic of Miro and Eddie Kingston from, I think, early in the year in January. And it reminded me of how good the TNT title used to be when it was around Miro and when it was on Cody and Darby even. But this whole bullshit is exactly that. So that's why it's the worst match on the show. Second worst match on the show, Tony Nese and Mark Sterling versus Hook Housen. Danhausen in AEW, I don't get it, but he is so over that I can't really say too much about it. I mean, other people are enjoying it. You got to let them enjoy it. Fun little match here. Hook did the damage to Sterling, and then he tagged Danhausen in for the 1-2-3. Fun little match to kick off the show. So it sits here in second to last place. Number 11, third to last place, Jade versus Anna Jay. I was shocked when they brought back this main event off Rampage and put it on the show. And it was incredibly overbooked to the point where I kind of enjoyed it. So it kind of leaped over those other two matches. It was like Vince Russo booking TNA in AEW here, and I loved it. Mark Sterling running out, getting stopped by... I wrote Mark Sterling getting stopped by Mark Sterling, but I guess he got stopped by someone came out. Oh, it was John Silver. John Silver comes running out, or John Silver runs out, gets stopped. Look at this overbooking. I'm getting tongue-tied already. Mark Sterling comes out, gets stopped by John Silver, which gets stopped by Stokely Hathaway, appears. Indicating that he's taking Mark Sterling's job. They kind of just said that on commentary. There wasn't really much shown that he was doing that. And then that leads to the baddies coming out, beating down Anna Jay after the match. And then Chris Statlander stops it. And then none other than former Ember Moon Athena comes out, evens the odds. And I guess this is the TBS title women's division here in AEW. All this convoluted, everyone running out at once does lead to more depth in the women's division in AEW, which is good. But, I mean, as far as the match goes, it kind of sat where it sits. Number 10, though, a lot of people might get mad at me. Samoa Joe versus Adam Cole. This match was shorter than I thought. Fish comes out and distracts the ref or whatever. Instead of Fish, Why wouldn't it be Lethal and Singh continuing that storyline? Adam Cole wins. Number 9, Britt Baker versus Ruby Soho. Ruby Soho pulling the Big E at WrestleMania 36, coming out with the famous musician playing her out and then taking the L. Rancid can't save you once the bell rings. I also heard that Ruby Soho was kind of getting booed before Rancid, so saved by the Rancid, full band playing her to the ring. That was cool, but Britt Baker does get the 1, 2, 3. Number 8, Kyle versus Darby. I hated that this match was happening until it happened because the match was actually pretty good. 13 matches on the show is way too long. They could have put this on Dynamite. And they both killed it. I loved Kyle kept countering Darby's dives. I thought that was really cool, especially the rear naked choke on the outside. But then Kyle gets the win here. I'm thinking, what the fuck? Like, Darby Allin is supposed to be a big, big name here, and here is like kind of like what MJF was alluding to. This WWE guy just comes in, just beats Darby clean. I wasn't a fan of that. Number 7, Thunder Rosa versus Deeb. This match was good, but not as good as their match for the NWA Women's Championship earlier last year. Detox 1-2. Sloppy cloverleaf here. Fire Thunder Driver 1, 2, 3. Thunder Rosa retains the championship. Number 6, the first match on the main show, Wardlow versus MJF. This was good because of the storyline building up to it. I was super excited about this storyline. Before I heard about all the MJF stuff, I thought this was the best thing going on AEW television. And it was well built here. MJF with the robe that kind of reminded me of Ric Flair's robe at Starrcade. I thought that was pretty cool. Warlow with the full Goldberg entrance here. Kind of a little bit of a Hannibal Lecter vibe too with the cuffs and everything. Loved it. Biting, poking the eyes, getting after Warlow as best as he can. But MJF at the end of the day takes 10 power bombs and gets carted off into stretcher. That's what needed to happen here. Despite all that craziness that happened behind the scenes or on Dynamite, for this feud and this rivalry, that's exactly what needed to happen. It was cool to see. Kind of sucks for Warlow that all this shit did happen, because now everyone's thinking, oh, well, Warlow won because MJF is problems with Tony Khan, instead of thinking Warlow just won this match. They did announce that he was all elite. He did get a "You Deserve It" chant. So we'll see where he goes. And he beat JD Drake on Dynamite. We'll talk about that a little later as well. Triangle tag match for the AEW Championship. Keith Lee was the most over guy on this match by far. Ricky Starks was the best guy in this match by far. Luchasaurus was kind of sloppy in this one. He kind of always is sloppy. Jurassic Express, they toss him up. Jungle Boy power bombs him down. 1, 2, 3. Number 5 out of 13. We're moving on to number 4 out of 18, which was the Bucks versus the Hardys. This was kind of a throwaway match here. Jeff looked sluggish. I thought he might have, been sluggish, but it looks like he was just really, really injured. They moved him off the show. Hope he's okay. But this match was nuts. I can't believe this was just some random match on a show. 1, 2, 3. Hardys beat the Bucks. Bittersweet, though, with Jeff going away for a while. Hopefully he can come back and maybe change his style up a bit. I mean, look at Matt Hardy with, slamming people's heads into the turnbuckle and doing the delete chants. Changed his style up, went more character-driven, and he seems like he's going to have more longevity in this sport than Jeff at this stage of the game. Hopefully they can pull it together. Number 3 out of 13, House of Black versus Death Triangle. This was a great match. 2 out of the 3 best 205 Live champions of all time in this 6-man tag. I'm talking about Pac and Buddy Murphy. Brody throwing Phoenix from a suplex position into a pile driver position into Black was kind of cool. Penta hitting a destroyer using Phoenix as a platform on the apron. That was nuts. Julia Hart shows up and missed Pac in the face. House of Black gets the 1, 2, 3. I saw 2 girls in the front row. One girl was explaining what was going on when Julia Hart just popped out of nowhere, and the other girl was kind of looking confused And I've been this one girl being super into something and explaining why this weird shit happened on wrestling. So I can sympathize with her. And I think we've all been there before. Taking a non-wrestling fan to a show and then some really weird shit happens and you're like, okay, let me explain this. This, wrestling's cool, but that's kind of weird. I'll admit that, but it's still kind of cool. And you just see this like confused look on the non-wrestling fan's face. So, I mean, I don't blame the non-wrestling fan. This little girl shows up and she's, teaming with these tattooed guys, and she black misted the guy, and somehow this black spit stops a really strong Scottish guy in his tracks. But we all know wrestling. We all know black mist just puts you absolute. We've seen Muta, we've seen Kabuki, we've seen Asuka, so we know about the black mist. But this one girl didn't, and I thought that was kind of funny. It was a thing that all wrestling fans can relate to, but rarely gets seen on the body of a wrestling program. But Julia Hart, though, kind of fully joining the House of Black here. I don't think we're going to see the Varsity Blondes too much on TV now that Julia Hart's not there. I don't know. Maybe Griff Garrison will get Powerbomb Symphony here. Who knows? But number 2 out of 13, Punk versus Hangman. That's right. There's another number 1. Slow pace in the early going. Dueling Hangman chants. So, bell to bell, Hangman, getting let's go Hangman, Hangman sucks chants. Kind of getting the Cena treatment with Punk in the ring. I thought that was kind of interesting. Sharpshooter by Punk. Hangman gets to the ropes, but the damage is done. Sloppy buckshot lariat from Punk. Powerbomb, Deadeye, 1-2, Punk hits out. Page hits a GTS, 1-2, Punk kicks out again. Ref bunk. Hangman checking on Paul Turner, the referee. Hangman goes for buckshot lariat, ends up getting caught in the GTS. 1-2-3. Punk is the new AEW champion. Holy shit. And who overshadows that but MJF? I mean, the best feud of the year in AEW. And now it's kind of coming up again into fruition. We'll get into that a little later. But I think all roads lead to Punk and MJF for this title now. But before that, I want to see some dream matches. I want to see Punk Joe for the AEW title. I want to see Punk Danielson, Punk Mox, Punk Omega. I mean, we're already getting a dream match that we never even knew we wanted at Forbidden Door. We're going to get into that at Dynamite a little bit. But before that, we're going to talk about the number 1 match on AEW Double or Nothing, and that's the Anarchy in the Arena Jericho Appreciation Society versus Blackpool Combat Club, Kingston, Santana, and Ortiz. This match was a lot of fun. Huge brawl. So many cool spots. It's hard to name. Go out of your way and watch this match. This is the match you should watch out of all the matches, even the Punk match. Music playing while they're brawling, and then Jericho unplugs this thing, and the music stops. So all these guys are bleeding, jumping off of ladders, and Jericho gets more heat than all of them just by simply unplugging a plug. Genius. Everyone bleeding right away. Daddy Magic and Mad King going into the concession stands, getting mustard all over the place. Santana and Ortiz stare you across bodies off ladders. Too much awesome shit to call, like I said before. Garcia at one point dragging Kingston by a belt that he wrapped around his throat. Kingston dumps gasoline, comes out looking ridiculous here, man. Someone in like a crazy ass action movie that you thought was dead reappearing is what it kind of looked like. But dumping gasoline, Danielson stopping him, a member of his own team stopping him from lighting someone on fire. Then Kingston gets choked out here. Or was it Moxley? Someone lost on the other team. Appreciation Society wins. Amazing, amazing match. Anarchy in the Arena, better than the Stadium Stampede matches. And the Stadium Stampede matches were pretty good. Not going to lie. But jumping over to AEW Dynamite, this show had way better promos than matches. First, Punk cuts an okay promo and then gets greatly overshadowed by Harwood. And then all of a sudden, Tanahashi comes out. We're going to get CM Punk and Tanahashi for the AEW Championship at Forbidden Door. There's a dream match right there. A dream match that I never knew I dreamt before. It's crazy. I mean, those are two legends I never thought ever would go at it. Really, really cool to see. It makes me want to just have the whole card laid out for me right here and there. But we'll get there probably within the coming weeks. And then MJF comes out and cuts the promo of the year. Like I said before, it's pretty interesting that Samoa Joe no-showed the Fan Fest as well, because this promo reminded me of that promo that Samoa Joe cut on TNA when Scott Hall no-showed that pay-per-view, I think a little over a decade ago. If you haven't seen it, go out of your way and watch it. I bet in 5 years from now, this promo will be talked about more than the Hangman Page CM Punk match. I hear podcasts where they break it down, every quarter hour, and they always talk about MJF getting the highest segment. So when he said that he was the second highest draw minute to minute, that's true. And then if you look, guys like Christian coming in, guys like Andrade coming in, these guys who are getting a lot more money than MJF, and they're doing very little, comparatively speaking, to MJF, as far as bringing people in and, having really, really good matches. Andrade did have that cool match with Cody and stuff like that, but MJF, that match with Darby was amazing. The feud with Jericho was amazing. The feud with Punk was amazing. You could say that, he's had the feud of the year in AEW. Maybe, you can make an argument for having top 2 feuds of the year every year in AEW. And then his mic work week to week, is amazing. Shades of flair throughout the promo, not necessarily in what he was speaking about, but just his mannerisms. At one point he grabbed the rope and stomped, kind of like Flair does. And then when he said that they couldn't lace my boots, he kind of just moves like Flair. You can tell this guy watches a lot of Flair promos. Just like everyone should. But, man, it was just an amazing promo. I found my love for wrestling again in this promo. And then Jericho Appreciation Society comes out, hilarious as always. I love how, Punk gets overshadowed by Harwood, and I think Jericho got a little overshadowed by Magic Daddy, or whatever they call this guy. He cuts a great promo too. Also loved when they, did the ode to Roman Reigns with WWE Galaxy, appreciate us. That was pretty fucking funny. Regal and Kingston come out and challenge these guys to a blood and guts. Bring it on. The best match of Double or Nothing, it can be the best match in Blood or Guts history. Athena promo, Jade and the baddies. Hathaway comes out, interrupts it. We get another stare down with those 6 ladies from Double or Nothing. Vince Vaughn in the crowd, Macaulay Culkin in the crowd. Great Dynamite. And it was good because of the promos. The in-ring action kind of got shown up by the promos here. But we're going to still rank every single match from AEW Dynamite, from worst to first. Warlow versus JD Drake. Always good to see JD Drake. Powerbomb Symphony 1, 2, 3. Sterling comes out and is suing Wardlow on behalf of the security guards, which is hilarious. And then he promptly beats up a security guard while Sterling is saying, that man has a family. Thought that was pretty good. Number 5, CM Punk and FTR versus Caster and the Ass Boys. FTR went from MJF to Punk. Slowly turned face during the MJF Punk feud. But, strangely, all of this was not a part of the MJF Punk storyline at all. Thought that was pretty interesting. The Ass Boys can go. I hope a non-wrestling fan didn't hear me say that in another room, or maybe you were listening to me and they walk into the room as I say that. That'd be kind of funny. But Mr. Ash jumps on the apron, gets distracted by Punk, but Punk can barely lift the guy to make the spot work, and then he kind of fucks up a springboard clothesline, or Punk kind of has at least 1 or 2 botches every single match. And this is a guy who used to yell that he was the best in the world 7 or 8 years ago, and he's fucking up every single match here. GTS and Big Rig 1, 2, 3. CM Punk's one of my favorites of all time. He's in my top 5, but he's gonna have to step it up in the ring, because there's always at least one thing that happens every single match where it's an uncover-upable botch. But right after MJF cuts the promo on XWE guys, Johnny Elite and Miro have a match here. A great prepackaged promo from Miro. We haven't seen him in a long time. I'm watching this match and thinking, why didn't they replace this match with that whole hour of wrestling that was on the pay-per-view? Having Miro show up at the pay-per-view would have been noteworthy. A lot more noteworthy than, Kyle O'Reilly and Darby. And, I feel like they could have done the Owen Hart Cup things on this episode of Dynamite. Mox and Garcia, the main event, at number 3 out of 6 here. Mox busted open. Garcia using the steps. Killer strike battle. Jericho runs down. Kingston runs down and almost pulls a Titus O'Neil, just like kind of stumbling his way all the way down. Brawls with Jericho as Mox gets the victory. Number 2, Baker and Hayter versus Ruby Soho and Storm. This almost was number 1. It's kind of like a tie between 2 and 1 this week on Dynamite. Super kick by Baker. Storm with the German. Hayter with the backbreaker. This was a really cool moment. Got a "This is awesome" chant from the LA Forum crowd. Desperation Unknown. 1, 2, 3. Ruby Soho pins Britt Baker. I was shocked about that, but that's what went down in this tag match. And number 1 out of all the matches on Dynamite this week, Red Dragon, Young Bucks, and Hikuleo versus Jurassic Express, Darby Allin, Matt Hardy, and Christian Cage. And this was just a fun little match here. I think most weeks there would have been 1 or 2 matches better than it, but like I said, the promos were better than the in-ring this week. Jungle Boy jumping over the top rope to hit a Hurricane Rana off the apron to Bobby Fish. Liked seeing that. Hikuleo and Luchasaurus going at it was kind of cool. Leo, right after a nasty fall, stands up and catches Darby Allin in midair. Meltzer Driver 1, 2, 3. Red Dragon, Bucks, and Hikuleo, members of the Super Elite / Bullet Club or whatever the fuck is going on there, get the victory. But June 5th, Sunday, June 5th, is the finals of the Best of the Super Juniors, and we're going to be giving you guys our predictions here at Curtain Jerkin. And when I say our predictions, I just mean me. There's no one else that works on this show with me. It's just me. If you guys didn't know at this point, love Main Event Marks, love Dragon Suplex, but honestly, I just send them the show and it gets up. But I'm just procrastinating because I got to find the match lineup that I'm looking for here. So we have the first match here, an 8-man tag, Clark Connors, Teton, Yo, Robbie Eagles versus Alex Zane, Wheeler Yuta, Ace Austin, and L. Lindemann. A little 8-man tag of guys that were in the Best of the Super Juniors. And who gives a fuck who will win this one? No, I think the first team, Clark Connors, Teton, Yo, and Robbie Eagles will win because there's more signed New Japan talent on that end of the ring. Second match, Mr. Wato and Taguchi versus Francesco Akira and TJP. I'm going with Master Wato and Taguchi, former IWGP Junior Tag Champions, to win that one. And then we have Hanma versus Juice Robinson. Hanma, you know him, you love him. Scratchy voice, headbutts, but he is taking the L to Juice Robinson here. The fourth match, Zack Sabre Jr. and Kinemaru versus Show and Evil. I hope Zack Sabre Jr. ties him in knots and wins this match here. A lot of heels here. I guess you're gonna just cheer for the side that has Zack Sabre Jr. on it because he's such a good wrestler. I'm going to have to go with my heart and not my head here, and I'm going Zack Sabre Jr. and Kinemaru are going to win this one. The fifth match on the card, Hanare, Grado Khan. I don't know if you guys seen Will Ospreay's Twitter, but Grado Khan had a great time in Las Vegas a few days ago. And Jeff Cobb versus El Phantasmo, Chase Owens, and Bad Luck Fale. I'm going with Bullet Club here because they've been putting over Bullet Club strong, even over the newer faction, the United Empire. I kind of like United Empire. Every guy on that faction can go. The sixth match on this card, Bushi, Naito, and Shingo Takagi versus Duki Takamichinoku and Taichi. You got to go the team with Naito. You got to go LIJ. The seventh match on the card, Jado, Tamatanga, Toriano, and Okada versus Gato, Taiji Ishimori, Doc Gallows, and Jay White. I already put over Bullet Club before on my predictions, and we're putting them over here again on this 8-man tag. What this undercard tells me is I'm only going to be watching the main event here. This is a lot of just 8-man tags filler for this great main event, no time limit, best of the Super Junior final match. The match we all just wanted from the get-go. Hiromu Takahashi versus El Desperado. This match solidified El Desperado as a star a few years ago when they did it, where his mask was ripping. He just rips it off, revealing a chiseled chin and, everything. And then he comes out with the mask. Again, I thought this was just going to reveal that he doesn't have a mask anymore. I want to see Hiromu beat El Desperado, but I want to see another classic match, and then I want to see El Desperado, who's a little larger in size for the junior division, to be put in the G1. So I'm hoping Hiromu wins, but somehow this elevates El Desperado into the G1. Those are my predictions for the best of the Super Junior card. I already gave you my predictions for Hell in a Cell, and then we reviewed Double or Nothing. This is an action-packed fucking curtain jerkin. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Fly high. I'm out.